songs were just like, when our songs were just like prayer, like gospel hymns that you called in the air. Come down, sweet reverence, until my gentle house and sing and ring. What's up, Ignar? Hello. Hello. I'm actually on time for once today. For once, I am on time. I'm here according to scheduled time. Greetings. Welcome. Hello. Greetings. Welcome. Hello. Never got a chance to ask you yet, but what were your thoughts from our duo stream reporting we did? Well, my first thoughts are Portland's popping off. I'm glad to see that Portland's actually standing up for itself. That was a big takeaway from it. Another big takeaway is just how scared ICE is. Just how I don't know how to put it. Like it seems like they are very much dependent on this giant mass of them, and like I don't know how to put it. They are very reliant on the idea of overwhelming odds, because like when you have them in the situation that you guys had them, where you've got a bunch of protesters outside the building and like a limited number of ICE agents that are actually there and can come out and do anything, they don't seem to be as bold, like they took a couple people down, they ignited some smoke, but they didn't go as hard as I kept expecting them to. Now I'm glad that they didn't, because you were there. I wouldn't have wanted you to get hurt, but I am kind of surprised that it didn't go that far. Especially some of the stuff that happened the next night. Individual situation. Check out this beautiful asshole. Ah. I was curious on what you thought of some of the MAGA instigators too. I will be honest with you. I couldn't hear any of what they were saying, so I couldn't catch like enough to actually criticize. I'm sure they were being morons, but as far as like what they were actually saying, I couldn't catch a lot of it. We're gonna have to set you up with a reporting rig or something. I don't know, dude. I'll be honest, Ignar. After we did that stream and I did the post stream and everything, I kind of got this vision in my head of like, man, wouldn't it be cool to, like, if I got big enough to start hiring journalists in different parts of the world, hire you to do West Coast work, hire someone on the like East Coast, New York City area to do East Coast work, hire somebody else to work like Canada, hire somebody for Europe. Man, if shit went that direction, that is the direction I would want to go. Excuse me. I gotta tell you this now, I won't be seen later, but dude, your titles are so boring now. They used to be engaging, now just repetitive and unfunny. Aww. Casey's mad at me. I'm trying out different things, Casey. Trying to figure out different ways that I can game the YouTube algorithm, and different ways that I can make use of different keywords and titles and stuff like that. So if you're not liking the titles right now, just you wait. They'll be back to funny soon enough. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button as you roll in, by the way. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. So if you do that, if you haven't done that, please do it already. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have 22 likes on top of the 3 we already have. So that'd be like 25. Please, if you haven't done it already, please do that now. I know there's another protest on Saturday at 2 p.m. PST if you want to do another dual stream again. Yeah, Ignore. That actually sounds really good. Yeah, this Saturday. Yeah, that's something to look forward to, actually. Yeah, I would love to. Saturdays are always free for me, and I can make that work. So yeah, definitely. I would love to get some more reporting on it. I will say, I do want to workshop a little bit. I don't know we want to necessarily talk about it right now, but I do want to workshop a little bit with you as far as like what kind of what kind of stuff to try and make sure you capture and everything else, But I feel like you did a pretty good. I feel like you did a pretty good job. I feel like the dual stream was pretty successful, and I definitely want to do more in the future. So I'll work out details when it comes up. Yeah, okay, cool. That works for me. What is that? What? What is this? This is a vape. What is this? This is a lighter. What is this? This is a woman. What is this? It's a phone. Would you hit a Chat GPT vape? Man, if that's not a Generation Alpha question, I don't know what is. No way you just said you're a woman? Yeah? Yes? Question mark? Are you sure about that? Yes. Hey, you, I seen you last night. You were funny and going off on Trump lovers. Yep. And it's probably going to happen again tonight, so buckle in and get ready. None of them have popped their head up yet. Like, so far, all we've got is, like, kids that should probably be going to bed, but that are postponing their bedtime to sit and listen to a streamer. But I'm sure the Trump fans are not far behind them. You have to understand. YouTube sends people in waves. I'll buy you a hooker. I don't need it. I've always thought it would be like interesting to engage in prostitution from the standpoint of the customer, but not necessarily because of any I've never had a problem getting a date, but there is kind of like if you've fucked a lot of people, then you've kind of gotten your choice of it, right? Like, and I want to experience the next level of that. There's some part of me that does. Not enough to like hardcore pursue it, but enough that if I was rich, right, and I was in Germany on business or something like that, I would probably go hit up a German brothel and try to find me like the hottest woman there. My lesbian ass would definitely be looking for that kind of service if I ever had the money to pursue it, just because you get to get like it's like the Ferrari of sex, You're getting somebody who's like not just talented in the art, but also somebody that is like at a premium because of their like just their sheer like level of physical attractiveness. So I've always thought it's like an interesting idea, but it's not interesting. It's not nearly interesting enough to be worth pursuing in terms of like, I'm going to orient my life towards that. That's fucking stupid. Maybe if I never got laid, maybe that would be a driver, but I do. Bring back the Inquisition. I don't think you're going to be finding many witches these days, bro. I think we pretty much know that witchcraft is bunko at this point. You might find some TikTok witches. You might find some girls like me, I guess, but you're not going to find like actual like medieval style toss them in the river and they might just float type of witches. I noticed if you prank call a Trump lover, they what now? What now? I notice if you prank call a Trump lover and say something like, did you hear Trump's new bill where he's making it so women can't vote? They embrace the idea no matter how ridiculous. I don't know how you possibly have tested that, but I will tell you this much. For those most hardcore dedicated to Trump's ideology and everything, well, not even his ideology, but to him as a person, there's literally nothing you can say to a person that's that addicted to Trump as a person to get them off the fucking bent. There's nothing you can say to get them off the horse. There's nothing you can say to get them distracted or to make them think otherwise of Trump. Literally, you have there's just no way. There's no way to get in front of that, There's no idea you can present to them too absurd. There's no idea. There's no threat from him too great. They will support him until the very end. The only time, to some degree, what I'm about to say applies to everybody when it comes to politics, but People who are really dedicated to a political philosophy, if they do come out of it, they don't tell you the day that happens. They don't tell you 6 months after it happens sometimes. Sometimes you never even get to hear it all. I mean, if you're just a random stranger, of course you're not going to know. But like, even if you're a friend, you might not get to know somebody's politics have like wildly changed until the next time you guys are hanging out in person or something like that. There's just like, there is a very arduous process that happens when someone is going through the process of changing, updating, or otherwise modifying their opinion. And it's very often not a process that leaves the person who actually convinced them of that opinion feeling altogether good about it. Because it's not like you get notified, like, oh shit, you changed somebody's mind. That doesn't work like that. So the best thing you can do is argue with people who are hardcore, like fascist, kind of authoritarian, loving people. I'm not saying these people personally are fascist or authoritarian necessarily, but I do think that they are being incredibly useful idiots. And once again, I say useful idiots. I'm not necessarily trying to say they're all morons. I mean, a lot of them are, but um, a lot of them are just kind of like going along with a president and preaching the gospel of that candidate because they think that he is eventually going to do something. Eventually, it's all going to turn around, and they've allied themselves to him, and they've gone on so long. But people do change their minds over time with the shift of public opinion, and like the public opinion has been shifting on Trump for a while now. So it's not going to be long. Give it 2 or 3 years, and it'll be just like it was in 2019 or 2020. You remember, Trump was universally hated by 2019, 2020. 2016? Oh man, like 2027? Really? Or not 2027, 2017? God damn it. 2017, people were fucking, oh man, they were all over Trump's ass. They were all fucking, like, dude, high approval ratings for the first half of that year at the very least. Lots of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Lots of energy for the MAGA base and out of the MAGA base. But then you look at 2019 and things start to kind of simmer down a little bit. Some very promising Democratic candidates come out of the woodwork. People start realizing that Trump is not the end all be all of American politics, that his reign is coming to an end, and that we're eventually going to have to select another president. Of course, the Republicans put up nobody other than Trump, and the Democrats ended up putting up Joe Biden after a long, bloody battle where they once again spurned Bernie Sanders. But by the time Donald Trump lost the presidency, he was not well liked among the average American, and he's already to that stage right now. Like, the average American really fucking just does not like Trump, and like his base is shrinking over time. We're starting to see actual splits within the MAGA base. If you look up Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is actively splitting from Trump right now. She is actively calling the president and White House out, and she's championing this Epstein file shit. Which, by the way, why haven't the Epstein files been released? Isn't that weird? We should look into that. Anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene actually spitting whole ass cold hearted facts when it comes to the Epstein files. Go Marjorie. Anyway. Yeah, so MAGA is collapsing. It's in the midst of collapse. They are rallying the troops right now, and Trump is trying to get everybody that he can on his side, but it's not working, and it's honestly like collapsing like a house of cards from every angle around him. But it does take a while. It does take a while for that opinion to visibly shift. TDS? What, talking about the president gives you TDS now? Do you believe Trump is starting the Fourth Reich and he's considering pardoning Maxwell? I think he's attempting to start a Fourth Reich. I don't think it's necessarily a Fourth Reich because that implies that it's a continuation of the German Empire, right? The way the Third Reich was. But I do think he's trying to build some kind of totally open Nazi fascist movement here in America. I don't know that he's going to be successful because so far, from what I see, American people are getting out there and protesting in a lot of these cities, despite the ICE raids, despite the ICE, despite the ICE and Border Patrol and National Guard deployment, despite all these signs, despite all these these anti-human authoritarian actions, people are still getting out there, protesting, demanding change. So that is a good sign. That is a really good sign. Protest was the most effective tool the most effective tool for compliance from the regime, because the Nazi government couldn't get away with killing outright Germans who weren't otherwise identified as some kind of enemy. So they couldn't just massacring their own, like the people that they were using and pulling their propaganda. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't take the person that they were upholding as a hero in all their propaganda and kill them. So when those people protested, it was the single best fulcrum that anybody had on changing Nazi policy. There were policies that changed because of protests that happened during the Nazi era by people who were actually still allowed some rights. It is so fucking important in this era of increasing fucking domestic terrorism at the behest of Trump's personal army in the form of ICE and Border Patrol and DHS and everything. It is incredibly important to remember that protest is an incredibly effective tool. I also want you guys to remember another lesson from the Holocaust. Those Jews who fought back during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising had a higher rate of survival than those Jews who went along with the state. Do you hate Trump? Hate's a strong word. I mean, I think it's safe to say I hate him, but I also don't know that it's a very useful. I don't know if it's a very useful thing to say about someone, honestly. So I don't tend to use the rhetoric of like, man, I fucking hate Trump. You know, that's not usually the angle I go at it. I go at it policy by policy, because I think that that's the problem with Trump. More than him being a moron on Twitter, more than him being impolite, more than him being a douchebag, I think it's completely fucking reprehensible that he claims to be an anti-war president, but yet renames the fucking Department of Defense the Department of War, calls this giant meeting of the generals, and is doing a bunch of like saber rattling with basically most of the world right now. I think that's like reprehensible. Not only is that a violation of his campaign promises, but it's also just a horrible fucking thing to do. A horrible thing which places human beings in the position of being pawns in some rich man's game. You would oppose that if it was a Democrat, but for some reason when it's a Republican, a lot of people want to act like it's okay. I call out that kind of hypocrisy here. I don't let that kind of hypocrisy just slip on by, you know? Imagine Kamala negotiating with world leaders. Dude, watch Trump negotiating with world leaders. He barely seems like he's even present. Dude, and this is coming from somebody who didn't vote and did not support Kamala, by the way. I am not making excuses for Kamala, but just look at who he ended up with. Like, look at who he ended up with because Kamala was the opposition. I mean, that's really the fucking tail of the tape there. Like, sure, Kamala would be bad, but Trump? Look at fucking Trump. He planned this whole fucking thing with Putin, made it up to be such a big deal, hyped it the fuck up, and then you know what happened? Putin came, stayed for like 30 minutes, give a couple of gifts out, hug a couple of necks, and fucking go away. He might as well have been a trucker driving through some of his family in order to, you know, catch a night of sleep somewhere that's not a truck stop. That's basically what Putin did, but on an international scale. That's not the sign of a good negotiator. That's not the sign of a competent diplomat. A competent diplomat would not have had Russia's fucking leader that he's actively trying to negotiate the end of a war with visit him for 30 minutes and then just fly away, sat unseen, and no deal reached. That is not the sign of a shrewd negotiator. That's the sign of an inept dipshit. A dimwit. What's up with the pentagram on the guitar? I'm a weather witch, and that's one of the symbols that I relate to. It's one of the symbols that I see power in. Competent diplomat doesn't supersede his state's rights to deploy the National Guard to democratic cities either, not gonna lie. Yeah, that's another good point to bring up. But these MAGA people have just kind of like they've even Like, that's the sad thing. There's a massive hypocrisy on the right wing right now because, according to the right wing's rhetoric, when it comes to small government, according to the right wing's rhetoric, when it comes to authoritarian and tyranny, they should be so fucking against Donald Trump right now. They should all be united in opposition against Donald Trump right now because he is actively engaging in the kind of behavior that they've always said that they need their fucking Second Amendment rights for. Hell, American conservatives have spent fucking the last 50 years justifying the Second Amendment with the idea that we need it to stand up against government tyranny. And yet, those same exact people who are constantly talking about tyranny and how governments can suddenly just decide to start kidnapping people off the streets and look at all this other shit, those same motherfuckers now are standing idly by, or even worse, clapping and cheering on as ICE agents literally kidnap people off of America's streets and disappear them to fucking God only knows where. The people that are always talking about freedom are the same people clapping at scores of fucking immigrants and a bunch of U.S. citizens getting gaffled up off the street merely for the crime of being brown. Or, in the case of the actual immigrants, for the crime of crossing the border illegally, which, by the way, is not some horrible felony. It's a fucking misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor that is normally, under any fucking sane administration, prosecuted as it's caught. Because, frankly, we rely on immigrants too much to really be too harsh about it. And for proof of that, just search farmers, immigrants. You can literally read story after story after story after story after story about how farmers all over the country are struggling to find work now that the fucking massive main source of their fucking employment is being shipped off to Mexico, Ecuador, and other fucking countries all over the planet at this point, dude. It's fucking ridiculous. These people are not pro-freedom. They are not anti-tyranny. They are certainly not anti-authoritarian. Do not let the Republicans claim that ever again. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. It really does help. Every single time I hit that like button, is a chance to send the stream out to even more people and increase the quality if you're feeling pressured by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. So please do that now if you haven't done it already. Also, consider sending a super chat if you want to make sure your question gets answered or read. I do read from the chat for most of the content here, but I can't read every single one. I do read every single super chat, though, because they are highlighted and easy to access. So consider sending a super chat if you want to make sure your question gets answered or your comment gets read. And it's also just a great way to support the channel's mission, which, if you haven't figured it out yet, is to bring people together from all walks of life to have difficult conversations with coarse language with our genuine selves expressed fully. What would you say to Trump if you could say one sentence? If this peace in Israel works out, that was a pretty cool thing. Otherwise, you've been a pretty big douchebag, man. That's pretty much what I'd say. I don't know. I'm not going to convince him of anything. I'm not going to convince him of anything. And I feel like if I go too hard at the insults, Trump's the kind of guy that's going to take it. He's just going to be able to like wipe it off. I don't know how else to put it. I feel like if I put it too gently, or I'm sorry, if I put it too hard, he's just going to brush it off and be boisterous and braggadocious. But if I put it the right way, he might actually be insulted more than if it was like way more insulting because like just been like kind of a douchebag. I mean, it almost invokes, it's lukewarm. It's lukewarm is what it is. It invokes that Bible verse, right? Come to me not come to me hot or cold, for if you come to me lukewarm, I shall spew your mouth, right? I can't remember. It's somewhere in John. I can't remember the chapter and verse, but it's a quote I love. And I feel like an insult like that would actually I feel like it'd get under Trump's skin. So that's what I would probably go with. Music for Earthworms with the $10. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Farmers, immigrants are a legal way, though. Well, what's your thoughts on digital IDs? I do get that there are some exceptions for farm workers under Trump's legislation and like some of the executive orders and shit. I don't know how well that's actually being enforced, though, because there are all kinds of videos of ICE raiding farms. So it seems to really kind of depend on how much noise those farmers are making and how much noise people are making about it from within the communities that those farms are worked by. I feel like it really just depends. But as far as digital IDs, I am for digital everything, because if we're going to have this technology, and we are going to have this technology and more and greater until we run out of oil. We will continue building stuff like this and smarter, better, and more complicated forever and ever until we run out of oil or run out of the steel or something. We're literally going to have to run out of resources before we change our way of life. So if we're going to have all of this technology, then in my opinion, it is incumbent on us to use it in the most efficient way possible. To use it, if you're going to expend all of this energy to make technology, then why not use it to make so many other processes way more efficient? And one process you could make more efficient, if everybody has a cell phone, if you're guaranteed basically a right to a cell phone, not maybe not a right to a cell phone, but you get what I mean. If it's pretty much guaranteed that every human being is going to have some kind of device that they can keep a digital ID on, then the idea that people like that these the DMV, for example, the idea that there need to be like 4 people working so that they can process licenses every day, that becomes completely null and void. You're no longer even going through that process. It's just streamlined through digital access. So I'm a big fan of digital IDs. I'm a big fan of digital wallets. I'm a big fan of digital everything. People will be like, "Oh, it can get stolen. It's so easy." I'm like, "Yeah, so can your wallet. Ever heard of a pickpocket?" It's like, you ever heard of a chain wallet? You ever wondered why those were a thing? You know? Is this Bruce Valanche? Bruce Valanche is a blonde. I don't look anything like Bruce Valanche. Do you put on a shirt? No. This is a sports bra. It counts. It's just as good. Ever heard of a hacker? Yeah. Ever heard of a pickpocket? Or a petty thief? Or a mugger? You know? Like, I don't know. People act like crime only happens on the internet. You guys have been trained by movies to be incredibly paranoid. The truth of it is, you're being watched, and that's whether you interact with the internet or not. So just fucking let's start fucking doing crazy shit with this tech. Because we already know, Edward Snowden already clued us into it. And if you think it stopped in 2012 when he let us all into the fact that we're all being watched, then you got another think coming. Because there's been 13 more years of fucking technological development in the intervening years. So you know it's just gotten worse, right? So with that in mind, we're all being surveilled. We're all under fucking watch. We're all under lock and key. So let's start doing some intelligent shit with our technology. Let's start coordinating aspects of our lives that are annoying and pointless under one common device. That's all I'm saying. Hacking can happen to you when you're just sitting at home. You can avoid being mugged. You can't avoid being hacked. Yes, you can avoid being hacked. I mean, you can, and honestly, like you can avoid being hacked to the same extent. I mean, you can't avoid it completely, but you can avoid being hacked to the same extent that you can avoid being robbed. You can be sitting at home and have a break and enter. Yeah, you're not going to get mugged if you're not walking around on the street, but you're also not going to be able to go get groceries or work a job, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and the same is true of the internet. So, do you see what I'm trying to do? Like, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Right. So, to me, the internet is an extension, a weird black mirror of real life, and many of the same rules apply. So, yes, technically, if you want to get really down to the nitty gritty, you can avoid being mugged or even just yelled at in public or anything like that just by not going out into public. I would liken that, right? I would liken that to somebody not ever using the internet, right? But that doesn't stop you from being like somebody can still break into your house with you there. Like they just don't realize you're home or something like that, or they just decide they don't care because they want to get into this hermit's house and steal their fucking TV because they've been looking through the windows, whatever, right? They're gonna like that can still happen to somebody who never leaves their house at all, right? Um, and just like with the internet, if you do decide to go outside, which all of us have to in order to work a job or have friends or enjoy life, you are going to well, if you're smart, you're going to think at least on some level about the level of protection that you're going to bring along with you. Are you going to just bring your wits about you and keep situationally aware and be like, you know, competent enough to defend yourself in a fight? Because that's a perfectly valid self-defense strategy. Are you going to carry a concealed weapon or something like that? Are you going to just like stay away from everybody and try to like play it as low key as possible? You know, the same kind of discussion or the same kind of um, safeguarding measures can happen on the internet, right? The equivalent on the internet would be like, what kind of antivirus do I want to have? Do I want to run antivirus? Do I want to just risk it? How much? What kind of browsers do I want to use, etc., right? So there are levels of risk associated with just living. And I don't think the levels of risk associated with the internet are actually meaningfully all that much higher than the risks of just living when it comes to things like, theft, when it comes to things like material loss. In fact, the main reason, you know what the fucking sad thing is? Despite all the data breaches and all that other shit, the primary way people get fucked out of their money online has nothing to do with people stealing your information, has everything, well, not through some nefarious, like, fucking hackers key code or whatever. It's not script kiddies. It's fucking scammers in India. The vast majority of internet scams that happen are fucking call centers in India running fucking various forms of confidence scams. Like, that's the biggest danger you face online. Do you shred on that guitar? No, because I can't shred. I'm an acoustic guitarist, rhythm guitarist. That is to say, I can't really play lead. Also, make sure you guys hit that like button. I haven't pimped it much this stream, but we are at 31 minutes, and if you've been watching for half an hour, you like the stream, so come on. If you haven't done it already, please hit that like button now. It really does help, and every single time you hit that like button, it sends the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. Yay! So please do that if you haven't done it. Can you kickflip? Nope. That shreds, in my opinion. Cool. Dad is not happy, trust me. He seems alright with me to me. I don't know. Seems cool to me. You're putting so much blind faith into the government to securely store your digital data. The government? I ain't trusted the government with shit. I ain't trusted, like, dude, I'm not trusting them because, like, I think you misunderstand me. I know that breaches are going to happen. I also know that no fucking set of laws humanity has ever devised has ever reduced crime to zero. I'm accepting risk as part of life. That's what I would argue. I'm not, I don't think I'm discounting anything. I'm literally just accepting risk as part of life. Risk is objectively part of life. I'm not saying, oh, there's ever going to be any breaches. They're going to do it fine. I didn't say that. What I said is that there are going to be breaches no matter what, that there's going to be theft no matter what. And that if we're going to accept that truth and if we're going to be surveilled anyway, which is all like, ain't said no lies yet, if we're all going to be surveilled anyway, and if, intelligent internet usage is just as risk-free as intelligent walking around in public, then why shouldn't we use our technology more intelligently? Why shouldn't we store some of our IDs in a digital form? Why shouldn't we adopt more digital wallet programming, things like that? Why not? Literally, why not? What do you think digital ID is? I'm assuming that it's like fucking exactly what it sounds like being able to correlate someone's actual identity with their mobile phone or whatever. And I mean, I'm thinking of it in terms of like some kind of consumerist program, but maybe I'm misinterpreting. If the idea is like, oh, they're going to start correlating your information and they're going to know who you are, they already do. They have for 13 years at least. They probably have since the inception of the internet. The internet began as a DARPA project. Anybody know what DARPA is? Anybody know what DARPA is? How are low-income people going to get digital ID without internet access? In a lot of low-income communities, internet access is one of those things you can sometimes get as part of like a welfare program or provided by a church or something like that, because internet access is increasingly required just to get around in society. Tell you what, name for me an average, regular, entry-level job anybody can get that doesn't ask you to apply online. Give me one. Name one off. Not even kidding. Name one off. You might be able to come up with a few. Kroger, I think, still does paper apps. I'm really racking my brain. a lot, like, I guess some gas stations do, because, like, Casey's I know did for a long time. I don't know if they still do. Anywhere basically that's not high end, that's not that's just not true. And, like, this is coming from somebody who has I've worked since I was 16 at a variety of different positions in a variety of different ways, and I have watched, right, as things went from when I got my first jobs, right, when I was 16, I started working at Walmart. That was an online application that I went into the store to do, I think. Because I went into the store thinking they would have paper applications, because that's what I kept getting told. But then I found out that there was this computer in the back that you had to use. And it was just an old setup, dude. It was fucking crazy. It was even old back then. So, when they got rid of them, it was no surprise at all. But they had a computer set up back there and a chair, and you would sit back there and work it and enter your application and all that. When I got my job at Office Max, that was an online application, but they were kind of like considered kind of new and unique for doing it that way still. Um, but then I got a job at a local restaurant. That was a paper app. I got a job at a Pizza Hut a little later. That was an online one. So basically, all the chains I've worked at, if I think about it, all of those have been online applications. But pretty much all of the smaller firms that I've worked for, like, smaller businesses and shit, have been paper apps. I'm trying to think if there's any exceptions to that. So yeah, like local places, they tend to still have some kind of paper app available, but not like there are towns all over America that don't have any local businesses, or that do, but none of them are entry level shit. You look absolutely cooked, my guy, respectfully. Well, I'm not a guy, but I appreciate the $2. Thank you. I'll always take $2. 2 free bucks is 2 free bucks. Speaking of which, if you want to make sure your question gets answered or your comment gets read, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. This guy is sitting here lying to himself. I'm not a guy, and I'm not lying about anything. You merely saying something, Canada, doesn't actually make it true. I know that you wish it did, but it's like you could say right now that you have a huge cock. It's not going to change the fact that you have a micro penis. It's just how the that's just how the cookie crumbles, sadly. Would that it were not so. Oh, I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I'm back, bitches. Some people are just lost in delusion. We should pray for him. Insults will not get this man to change. Neither will you calling me a man constantly, Omar, because I'm not a man. And you saying it is literally not going to change that, no matter how many times you say it, no matter how much conviction you say it with. You miss nothing? I never do. I never do. That's usually what I find when I leave for a second and I come back. It's usually nothing good. Brush your teeth. Women have nice teeth usually. That varies heavily by individual, my friend. Heavily by individual. I bet you would never fight for your country. Before Trump was elected, I was actually like on the path to like losing a bunch of weight and hopefully joining the US Navy. So, I mean, it's just ironic how wildly wrong some people are, but that's just how it is. Now, once Trump won, I knew that that was not going to happen, so. Oh, the things that might have been. I was legitimately like I've lost 40 pounds over the last year, and a lot of that was in like June, July, August, and September of last year, which is still progress. That's good. It has tapered off over the last few months though. So I need to like get back into it. Because regardless of what happens in life, I definitely don't want to I don't want to be a fat old person. That's the thing, right? I really don't mind being fat in and of itself. Like as far as like an aesthetic thing, I don't think it makes me ugly. I don't think that it makes me like less fuckable. It clearly doesn't make me less fuckable. I have a double digit body count. It's like not it doesn't inconvenience me in that way, and I don't derive any sense of like of lowered self-worth because of it. But fat old people always have way more joint problems, and I've already got some of those. They always have way more like health problems in general. And I also feel like that's got to be a mess to clean up for anybody who ends up being your caretaker. So I don't want to be a fat old person, you know? And I figure if I get reasonably healthy now while I'm still young and I still have like all my vim and vigor and energy and shit, because I'm just 27 and I can still do that kind of thing, better to do it now than to like postpone and be like just like because the results are like that, not the results but the ill effects from living and like an unhealthy lifestyle or whatever are cumulative. So the longer you live that way, the worse it is later on the road. What's your opinion on trans using their preferred gender bathroom and people that might abuse it to prey on others? I feel like it's a made up problem, to be honest with you. The fact of it is, trans people are way more likely to be the victims of sexual assault or other forms of violence than we are to be the perpetrators of it. That's just statistical fact. Um, Now, would somebody try and abuse that to prey on other people? Well, let me ask you how. Do you think that they're just going to change absolutely nothing about their appearance and start going into women's restrooms, and if called out by it, they're just going to like claim that they're a woman? Because nobody's going to stand for that. No matter how no matter how trans positive society gets, nobody's going to be chill with somebody like um, creeping on other people in a bathroom, no matter what their gender or sex makeup is. Period. Do you think that they're going to be like changing up every aspect of how they talk, think, speak, etc.? You know, like, do you think that they're going to like, because like, I don't know, like to actually be like noticeably trans, I don't know how else to put it. There's more to it than just like adopting a name of that suits your preferred gender and like cutting your hair. It's like, you know, the way you dress, it's the way you carry yourself, it's the way like gender is like all of these things. It's the way a person dresses, it's the way that a person carries themselves, it's their countenance, you know, not necessarily pitch in their voice, but like the way that they talk. Um and I mean, I guess pitch can be a gender marker, but I feel like it's not nearly as reliable one as people like to act like. It's not nearly as reliable as people pretend like it is. I feel like the other things I listed are more reliable predictors of gender, but maybe I'm wrong. You have chin hair, you dude? If I was a dude, which I'm not, but if I was, my chin hair would not make me a dude. There are women with picos all over this country who also have chin hair. I literally know a bearded lady who was born a fucking cis woman and is perfectly fine identifying as a cis woman. She's not trans anyway, and she could literally be a bearded lady if she wanted to be. And she is not fucking shy about her facial hair at all. She doesn't care. Like, she shaves it sometimes, I think, because she likes, like, I think she prefers the way she looks without it, but she's also not, like, super self-conscious about it from what I can tell. Or maybe she is and she just hides it really well. I don't know. Sis is very offensive. I thought you guys were against people being all offended about stuff. I thought you guys didn't care for weak-minded arguments that came from a places of emotion. I thought you guys were the ones who made fun of people who were offended. Does it say male or female on your birth certificate? Does it say fucking... Nah, never mind. I was gonna go too mean there. Actually, I'm just gonna go there. Does it say uneducated hick moron on yours? Just curious. Still working at Office Max? No. Lord, no. I haven't worked there in fucking a dog's age. Why did your mom choose life? Because she was impregnated by the devil, and he was like, well, normally I'm pro-abortion, but in this particular case, I'm afraid I cannot let you. I can make sure that the pregnancy is relatively pain-free, and I can assure you that the child will be most well-behaved when they arrive. So, she really had no option. You should definitely go play Entrap. Yeah, I'm the unhinged one. I'm the crazy one, but the right wing literally has people going around being bigoted, telling people to go kill themselves. Yeah, we're totally the unhinged ones, guys. We're totally the ones who are pro political violence too. When you've literally got scores of people on the right wing who fucking clatter and who fucking who clap and chatter like a bunch of seals every time a trans person dies or a Democratic official gets killed or something like that. But they don't forget, like, in the midst of all this shit that they're getting up to, right? Don't forget that they want you to shed salty tears about Charlie Kirk, despite the fact that they were all laughing when two Democratic fucking lawmakers were killed a couple months ago. Despite the fact that they were all laughing when a Democratic judge's house was burned down. They want you to disregard all of that. They want you to disregard Dylan Roof. They want you to disregard Timothy McVeigh. They want you to disregard all of the right-wing violence that has happened and all of the right-wing fucking celebration of violence that has happened. They want you to disregard all of that. What's up, Desi? What's up, what's up, what's up? Dude, what? I'm so glad that got deleted. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. You look like Shrek? Man, show us what you look like. Motherfucker looking like Donkey telling me I look like Shrek. It's like, at least I'm the main character, bitch. Are we forgetting the celebratory actions done by the left when Charlie Kirk died? No. Are we forgetting the celebratory actions done by Trump or any of the other fucking right-wing figures when anybody from the left has been attacked or otherwise harmed? Are we forgetting about when Charlie Kirk celebrated when Paul Pelosi was attacked with a hammer in his home? Are we just going to forget about that? Yeah, Charlie Kirk didn't believe in empathy. So I don't know why everybody is so up in arms about me being irreverent about his death. Charlie Kirk did not believe in empathy. Charlie Kirk said that empathy is the dumbest word ever created, that it's new age bullshit. So I don't know why you're so worried about me not being empathetic towards Charlie Kirk. He didn't believe in it, bro. Why do you want that man's legacy to die so bad? You're not okay with the man dying. You want his legacy to die too. That's why you're suppressing free speech. That's why you guys are like the right wing is massively attacking free speech right now. That's why you guys are trying to police the fucking very opinions people hold of this man, despite the fact that he would have fucking, if you actually listen to Charlie Kirk and you think he had, like, if you take him seriously about anything, you can take him seriously about his free speech. And if you think he would be in support of this shit, well, part of me thinks he would be, but he shouldn't. And his rhetoric wouldn't be in support of it. His rhetoric was pro free speech. His rhetoric was pro irreverent opinions. His rhetoric was pro debate. That includes people making fun of him and his death and everything else afterwards. And I'm not even one of the people that was out here celebrating. I'm one of the people who was out here saying, "Get ready. The right's about to get a lot more scary." That was my take. Get ready. That was my take. My take was Charlie Kirk was a backwards, bigoted moron who nevertheless did not deserve to die like a dog in the street. Okay? That was my take. I wasn't one of the people celebrating. Now, I'm also not shedding any salty tears because I recognize, like I said, what a backwards, bigoted moron he was. So I'm not particularly upset about his death. But I also don't find the need to celebrate it because I know what deaths like this have a tendency to do. They often have the opposite of their intended effect. So if Tyler Robinson's intention was to crush conservative voices, he did the opposite. He has actually empowered them. If his idea was to chill the speech of the conservative movement, it has just emboldened them. So, yeah. Music for Earthworms with the $10. Thank you so much. Bro, your politics are on point. Q, what are your thoughts on government shutdown? I say fuck illegals getting free shit when I pay big dollars. Oh, fuck the haters, dude speaks facts on politics. Well, thanks. As far as what are my thoughts on government shutdown, I think that this is the first time we've actually seen the Democrats actually mounting a something like a fight against Trump's authoritarian fascist bent. And I genuinely think it's an opportunity for them to make a really big difference because, um, like public opinion is still holding with the left and with the DNC when it comes to who is responsible for this government shutdown. Most Americans still think that it's the Republicans' fault and that the Republicans need to come to the table to what the Democrats want. And I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon because Republican messaging isn't changing at all. They're just trying to buckle down and get fiercer and harsher and worse. They're just sending more and more people out there to get fucking waffle stomped on the street. So they're just making themselves look continuously worse. And every Democrat who's loudly not that right now looks like a fucking hero. So I cannot imagine American public opinion turning on this issue in any meaningful way here soon. So I think that the government shutdown is a really good opportunity for hopefully the Democratic Party to force the Republican Party to come together on some bipartisan measures to be agreed upon, discussed, legislated, and basically all but enacted, or enacted maybe even, before the government is refunded, before the new bill is passed or whatever. Before the new spending bill is passed, is what I was trying to say. $2 from El Zerak. El Zerak. Okay, thank you for the $2. Cash money is because you're putting up with chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, that's what I do here. That's the main thing I do here. If you're enjoying the conversation, please hit that like button. It really does help. Democrats finally got some balls. Exactly. They finally grew a set of balls, and now we're going to see if they actually if they stick it out. Right now, Trump is trying to bait them with this idea like, I'll do a deal on some healthcare measures and stuff. I'll extend these ACA subsidies. You guys just come to the table on the shutdown. But I think the Democrats need to be like, nah, I think we'll come to the table on the shutdown once you come to the table on healthcare. And we're going a lot farther than just the ACA subsidies. If they did that, and they could do that, they would either they would get their concessions and they would fucking revolutionize healthcare in this country, or they would be scuttled, basically, in that direct effort by the Republican Party and Trump and his cronies. And I think the American people, seeing this corruption, would launch into a massive protest movement that would actually, because we're already seeing the fucking, it's already being fomented. There's already a massive protest movement going on just against these ICE raids and everything, and against Trump in general. The No King's Day protests are coming up again. So, all we need is 3% of the population to protest. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Honestly, not even 3%. I mean, yeah, 3% would fucking revolutionize this country, but 1% could get massive changes implemented. One percent could do amazing things in this country. By the way, if anybody's listening and you do want to donate to the stream, but you don't want to donate through Super Chat because of the take YouTube takes or whatever, I do have my Cash App in my description, just so you know. People are too dumb and careless. No, they're not. People are directionless is the problem. People are not dumb. People, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are stupid. I'm not gonna say there's not a bunch of stupid people out there, but people are not as stupid as we make them out to be. Every pessimist is a little bit exaggerative of the stupidity of the human condition. A lot of it's ignorance, a lot of it's social pressure, a lot of it's willful ignorance. There's a whole lot of shit that's built into making someone a moron, right? It's not usually just a matter of like lacking information or whatever. It's usually a combination of all of these factors, right? And it takes a lot of introspection, a lot of like self-examination to like climb out of that mire, basically. And so I try not to discount the intelligence of the average American just broadly right off the top of the bat, just as a rule. I think that with the right stimulus, the American people do show up and show out. But I think it takes the right fucking push. I think it takes the right push. I think it takes the right amount of violence and the right amount of fucking tensions and everything else. I think it takes a perfect confluence of events sometimes. But when you get Americans' asses out of their fucking lazy boys and we start hitting the streets, we get shit done. I just want to see your views. What do you mean? You want to mean you want to see my views? How the fuck do you get your teeth that brown? Have an addiction to sweet tea. The critic is guilty of what he accuses other of. What? I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I seriously want to know if you're a Christian. Why or not? No, I'm not Christian. I grew up Pentecostal. I started having nightmares about hell when I was 12 years old. Started having like existential crisis about it, and my mom was the first person who told me, you know, you don't have to believe that. I was brought up in a completely different version of Christianity that says this about the whole hell thing, and to us, it's just a grave. And she explained how she doesn't even believe in that version of God anymore, and all that. So I was able to like feel a lot better because of those conversations. But yeah, I haven't considered myself a Christian since I was like 13, and I'm 27 now. So that's like 14 years of being varying shades of atheist. I drink sweet tea like it's water. My teeth are white. Get a toothbrush, dude. You're probably one of these people who can afford like, you know, like twice yearly fucking dentist checkups too. Like, I haven't been able to go to a dentist in 10 years. So that probably contributes because I do brush my teeth. Like, hence the fact that my teeth aren't like falling out of my head. They're just stained because I can't get professional cleanings done. And you can brush and brush all you want, but unless you've got some professional level cleaning equipment, you're not gonna strip off that stain layer. And to some degree, you can't really get rid of all of it completely because, like, the way enamel works, it's like somewhat porous structure. Or not enamel, but the stuff under the enamel. Like, once the enamel starts to wear away, which it will if you're drinking like acidic shit like soda and sweet tea. And I used to have a way fucking huge problem with soda, which is probably what did it more than anything, honestly. I used to drink a lot of dark sodas. Now I hardly ever drink soda. And I really don't even drink that much sweet tea anymore. I would say I have like one of those a day. Now my main vice is iced coffee, but I've dropped that down to like 2 a day. So better than just like subsisting on liquid calories, which is where I was at like 2 years ago. Now I actually incorporate water into the majority of my, throughout the day drinks. Worrying about bathrooms at this point is wild and speaks to their psychopathy. It also speaks to their privilege. Not to sound like a total SJW, but it really speaks to someone's privilege if they're able to care about bathroom politics at a time like this. Bro, you need a job, a gym, and a diet, and you'll be fine. Bro, you need to get the fuck out of other people's business, and you'll be fine. Exactly how much money do I need to make on YouTube for you to consider it a job, Brennan? Just curious. I've asked a million people this question. I ain't never got an answer from it. Sorry about all the hate. Not all of us are assholes. Well, you have to understand. You may have noticed that there's mods in here, but the hate isn't just automatically getting banned out. Only specific varieties of it in specific instances. That's because we kind of encourage the hate here. We do what a little bit of what's called rage baiting here, which is to say that I'm a pretty articulate trans woman who doesn't. I don't pass super well. I'm comfortable like recognizing that fact. And I also don't voice train. And these two things put together, combined with the fact that I'm articulate, makes me a massive rage magnet for the right. They just can't stand me because I violate so many rules of their perfect little fascist society that they want to build. There's no room in their society for people like me. And so I piss them off more than anybody. More than anybody. And we encourage people to fight here. We encourage people because I like to fight with the chat. I like to fight in general, but I figured out a long time ago that if I don't have people that I can engage that with, then I will not even notice it, but I will end up engaging in that kind of behavior sometimes with people in my personal life, which is not right. But doing these is a really great way to channel that kind of argumentative streak that I have into something that's not, arguing with my partner for no reason. And so we encourage people to argue here because outside of just the personal reasons too, there's also the fact that there's a lot of money to be made right now on providing a platform for people with disparate opinions to come together and have something like a conversation, despite all the coarse language, despite how much we all disagree, despite how many different directions we're coming at it from. I won't shit on you, but you shit on Charlie. Kirk was kind of fucked up. You're over here doing the exact same thing. I will never donate another dollar. You go ahead and speak your mind. What was that? But you shit on Charlie. Kirk was kind of fucked up. You're over here doing the exact same thing. Yeah, but the difference between me and Charlie is the fact that I don't advocate, like, I never advocate or make excuses for violence. You know? Like, I never advocate or make excuses for violence. When I was talking about the possible motives of Charlie's killer, I discussed how it was pretty fucking stupid of a strategy. The closest I came to shitting on Charlie Kirk in regards to his death was to say that I'm not going to sugarcoat my opinion on the dude because I would have shit on him a year ago. I would have shit on him, but I'm supposed to not shit on him now. Why? Why is he holy in your mind? Now, like, as for you not donating anymore, that's it's your wallet, It's not my, what's that thing my manager at Office Max used to say? It's not my pocketbook, all right? It's not my pocketbook. I ain't really worried about that. There are plenty of other fish in the sea when it comes to that in itself. But when it comes to the whole Charlie Kirk situation, I don't understand why I'm supposed to hold Charlie up to some kind of unique standard. Like, I'm not supposed to talk about the things that I disagreed with him on. I'm not supposed to talk about how I'm Not exactly sad that he's gone, because he was a purveyor of what I consider to be pretty fucking fundamentally hateful beliefs that would have and have directly resulted in violence against queer people, etc. You know, I don't know why that this is like, and I feel like this kind of thing is never expected of the right, right? None of you guys lionize leftist figures after they die. You know, none of you guys get shit on it either. It's not like the left goes around and tries to coalesce the names of every right winger that talked shit on the Democratic legislators that died or whatever. You know. Now, I will admit, the left did used to do kind of as a tactic, and I think it's a pretty stupid one, because I think people are supposed to have the right to freedom of speech in America, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not a tactic the left has used much in recent years, and I don't know that it exactly helps the situation to bring it back into the zeitgeist as a tactic. I do want to see if that person ever responded to what I just said. Probably not, but we'll see. And that kind of sucks. Damn. That's the first person I've ever had that has donated and been like, damn, I'm pissed off, man. Oh well. It is what it is. I'm certainly not going to beg for anybody's dollar, that's for sure. The gun violence quote you just said, you only posted part of it, not the whole... Oh, I don't think you're even talking to me. What? You guys are arguing with each other in chat, and this always makes things harder to read. So while you guys are figuring it out in chat, I'm gonna repack this. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I will address something I saw while scrolling up. Accusations that, some people pointing out, not accusations, but people pointing out that Charlie Kirk never advocated for violence. It was kind of a misspeaking of mine, I guess, to say that he outright advocated violence himself. What Charlie Kirk did instead was something that is arguably even more sinister, which is to constantly make excuses for right-wing violence. You notice I'm not doing that. You notice my opinions of his death are pretty milquetoast compared to most of the opinions about him dying. I don't celebrate his death. I also don't mourn his passing. That, in my mind, is a pretty innocuous opinion that if I held it about anybody else, you probably wouldn't care. Give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. I wasn't happy when David Bowie died, but I wasn't a fan of him, so I didn't fucking grieve his fucking passing either, you know? Like, I might have recognized logically, like, yeah, that's, man, an end to a long life and a really successful career and all that. But as far as like grieving, no. I didn't say shit about speech. I didn't say shit about hate speech, did I? Did I say shit about hate speech? What I said is that he made excuses for right-wing violence, which he did constantly. Well, I'm not a he, so I don't care. I legitimately do not care. You are free to spend or not spend your money wherever you want to, my friend. Doesn't bother me none. Appreciate the $20 though. Didn't have a damn thing to say about anything else I said. Because you don't have an argument against any of that. You don't actually have an argument for why it's okay for Charlie Kirk to constantly spend his, why it's okay for Charlie Kirk to use his platform to make excuses for the January 6th people, to make excuses for various perpetrators of right wing violence, to laugh at Paul Pelosi getting attacked by a hammer. You don't have any fucking reply to the fact that Charlie Kirk was a giant fan of political violence, as long as it wasn't happening to him. You don't have any fucking reply to the fact that Charlie Kirk helped to build the fire that he was engulfed in. You don't have any fucking reply to the fact that I don't engage in that shit. That I say outright and directly that Charlie Kirk's death, while not exactly a tragedy, was nonetheless a pretty horrible thing to have happened, and a pretty fucking colossally stupid thing for the left to do if it did end up being somebody from the left. We don't exactly know yet. We don't even know if we've got the fucking right guy 100%. I don't know why. Like, this is the one case in the world that everybody's just like, yep, all right, fuck it. We don't even need a trial. Like, we already know, I don't know. Like, seems to me like we would want more verisimilitude than merely Kash Patel getting on fucking Fox News and talking about the case. But what do I know? I'm just a civilian who has to vote for these people. He wanted public executions with children watching. Don't say that. You're supposed to heroize him. You're supposed to fucking lionize him, Desi. Didn't you hear? I ain't getting paid no more, apparently, because I didn't lionize Charlie Kirk hard enough. And apparently I'm doing the exact same thing Charlie was doing. Well, I'm engaging in the same thing he did for a living. Yes, there's that similarity. But as far as our tact, I take a wildly different tact than Charlie Kirk took. I take a wildly different tact. I am open and honest about how I think leftists should achieve our beliefs. I don't pussyfoot around it. I don't sugarcoat it. I talk about it directly. And my fucking mode is not violent at all. I don't ever make excuses for left-wing or right-wing violence. I don't ever find myself on the wrong side of an insurrection. For some reason, I don't ever find myself on the wrong side of any of these issues, and Charlie Kirk did consistently throughout the last fucking, throughout his entire career. Not the last anything of anything. The entirety of his career was full of him making excuses for right-wing political violence, decrying left-wing political violence, and stirring the fucking pot. And I stir the pot too, but I don't do the first two. I'm more like a squirrel or a pigeon than a civilian. That's fair enough. Why give opinions about super controversial stuff when you can grow a better reputation in a better way? Because I like talking about controversial things? I don't know. I don't know that I understand the question, to be honest with you. Even if he say is true, he was killed for stirring the pot with words, debates. Yeah, and I decry that. I don't think that it's right that he was. Like, how many more times do I have to say that? This is what I mean when I say that there's a different, like, there's a completely different standard being applied to the left than when it comes to the right, right? The left literally cannot talk about Charlie Kirk without saying, it's fucked up that he died, though, man, after every sentence. You can't, like, let me just criticize Charlie Kirk in the way that the right would want me to right now. Okay? This is Charlie Kirk criticism, safe for right-wing ears. Okay, you ready? I'm just not sure that Charlie Kirk had really good opinions, man. He was like kind of a not good kind of like when it comes to his political opinions, like he didn't think that black pilot could be qualified because like I guess maybe he thinks like I don't know, the FAA doesn't properly vet black pilots. I don't really understand it. I'm sure there's some logical explanation, man. It's really fucked up that he died though. But I have to say, I really disagreed with him when he said that there should be public executions and like kids should watch that. That just doesn't seem like it would be right to me. It's like that. I've read some child development books and I don't think that that's the right way to approach the issue, but it is fucked up that he died. That's what you guys would want me to do, right? I never said people weren't celebrating. I said I didn't celebrate, bitch. He never said that children should watch public executions. I was just scrolling and happened to stumble upon this live feed. He did say that. Can someone go fetch me the source on that just so I can have it posted in here? Yeah, yeah. Would someone look up that quote for me real quick? Okay, Lavi, let me just ask you this, Lavi. How many subs do you have? Just curious. Because I can't tell just looking right now. Like, I can't leave this stream and go check. You said not one person. I did not say that, but okay. Those weren't his exact words. You're taking it out of context. Oh, I love this shit. I love this shit. Dude, whenever the left wing gets clip chimped, dude, the right wing jumps all over it. You guys are more than happy to take the left out of context. But you guys expect someone to sit and listen to the entire hour of a conversation. It- you know what? I'm going to say something and it might be controversial, but um unlike whoever it was said, controversy actually like is a good thing on YouTube. So I'm just going to say it. Um this out of context thing, this popular refrain on the right is an attempt to get people who would not otherwise engage in right wing content to go engage in right wing content. That's what it is. Because they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about context. If they gave a shit about context, they wouldn't be clip chimping every fucking leftist they see online. But they do constantly. Oh, dude, I love that. What's more credible? Somebody who's been following him for made up, fucking made up number of years, or somebody on the internet that just found out, motherfucker, I have been watching Charlie Kirk's career grow since 2015. I've been watching Charlie Kirk since he was a whipper. I don't come at me like you got some fucking knowledge I ain't got. I'm sure you've also been watching your waistline grow since then. Well, I can't really help it because every time I go fuck your mom, she feeds me really well. And she makes like really delicious food that's like calorically dense. So, what can you say? We need to stop being so divided. Why are we allowing politics and the news media to determine how we are supposed to respect and love one another? I ask the exact same thing. What I wonder, Elizabeth, is why do me and you believe that, but clearly come at it from two very different sides of politics, right? Because when I say I want to just like here's my thing. My perfect society contains all kinds of political divisions and everything, but we agree on the basics, which is let other people live the way they want to live as long as it ain't hurting nobody else. Let somebody be trans if they want to be trans. Let somebody be religious if they want to be religious. Let somebody be fucking let somebody be gay if they want to be gay, etc., etc. You know, let somebody be fucking um, like politically extreme if they want to be politically extreme. I think ideally we would all follow some kind of model like that, but that is not the model we live under right now. No, I don't belong to the Democratic Party. Thank God. I have 35 subs, but it doesn't matter. I just saw a lot of YouTubers fail because they said hot takes and political opinions. Well, I will tell you this much. I have like 7,000 something subs. Um, I've been monetized since May and I've already made over 2 grand on this platform. And it's all on the basis of me having controversial political opinions. So I appreciate the advice. Take it under advisement, but I think I got this. $7,000 subs and only 12 people watching. It's like 12 in the morning, bro. I guess considering how fat you are, we are taking up all the bandwidth. Man, Bork, you just think you're the most clever motherfucker in the whole world, huh? We're gonna give Bork the silent treatment the rest of the stream. I don't want them hidden or deleted or fucked with at all, but I will not read another one of their chats. They have wasted my time with every single one. Both sides believe the other is threatening their way of life. Yeah, but the truth of it is only one side is actually threatening anybody's way of life. Like, that's the thing, Emily Lewis. I agree. Both sides feel that way, and that does deserve some consideration when we're talking about the tactics that we might use and the tact we might take in like this current political climate and in the evolving political climate of the future. I appreciate that, right? I understand all of that, but if you actually look at the facts as far as like what each party wants, like as far as like, well, the two parties, fuck, like take them out of it. But when it comes to the two competing visions of America's future, only one of them is actually restrictive in any way. Only one of them actually means you can't live your life in a certain way. See, if the left gets their way, right? If we crazy leftist socialists over here get our way, you're gonna be allowed to be a Christian if you want to be. You're gonna be allowed to be a Muslim if you want to be. You're gonna be allowed to get an abortion if you need to have one. You know, you're gonna be allowed to feel comfortable looking forward to your retirement because it's going to be guaranteed at a specific age. You're going to have decent wages that will allow you to actually pursue freedom and not just merely dream about it looking out the window at it. Under a like if the right wing achieves their goals and sees their society built, you'll be facing a society in which you can probably only be Christian or maybe Jewish. Like you can be Jewish or Christian, maybe they'll let the Muslims in because we're in good with Saudi Arabia. So maybe they'll be cool with Muslims too. But if the right wing got their ultimate utopian society, there would be no atheists in there. You wouldn't be allowed to be. You wouldn't be allowed to be trans. You certainly would not be allowed to be trans. Even if they would allow adults to be trans, I don't think that they would allow them to, in any way, tell children. Like, I don't think they would allow trans people to have children or to be teachers or anything like that. I think there would be extreme restrictions on people's rights if they even were allowed to express themselves in that way. Same for just alternative people in general. Anybody wearing clothes that is deemed too problematic by the state, nope, those are going away. That's the ultimate like vision of a society under a right-wing like leadership structure, is corporate power rules over everything and state power dominates what you do in terms of your like everyday expression and the limits of your expression and everything else. So I feel like one one side is a lot is a lot scarier if you actually fucking examine what each side is preaching. I don't know. Right wingers, you guys can fucking correct me if I'm wrong, but when I read the shit you guys want, right? When I actually listen to what right wingers talk about, when I read the comments in here from people who claim to be right wing, it's all fucking, it's wildly anti trans shit. You can't tell me that those people would be comfortable with allowing trans people to exist in their perfect society. So, just on the basis of that, I have to oppose it. But even if you look at any other kind of marginalized community, an idealistic society ran by the like Republican Party with its many and varied ties to white nationalism and shit is going to be a society that relegates black people and Hispanic people, really anybody, like any person of color, to servile roles. Like that, I'm sorry, like you're just not going to be able to divorce the Republican Party from the sheer number of Klansmen in it. Sorry, I grew up in an area where the Klan still exists, so I know this is a thing. I'm not going to be talked out of it. I'm not going to be told that it's not real, because I know it's real. I know for a fact that it's real. I know for a fact that there are a bunch of Republicans all throughout the Deep South and Midwest that are fucking Klansmen. Not so many that's like some epidemic, but enough to where will they do and they will continue to exert influence in that party, however small that influence might be. But it's a horribly fascist right-wing perspective, a white nationalist perspective that continuously manages to fucking weasel its maggoty way into more moderate people. It's a pernicious philosophy that needs to be rooted out, but America never gets rid of its demons, so. Now she's saying the Klan is fascist. I bet you don't even know what fascism is. Yeah. I just don't see the point of talking political opinions when you have other sources that work hours upon hours of their day to give you true points of views and stories and give you accurate answers. Huh? Do you think that there is a single fucking source from which you can derive political opinions that isn't biased? Like, do you think that there is a single fucking source from which you derive political opinions that, like, whatever. Anyway, I'm not interested in the advice. I'm just gonna fucking put it out there. I'm not interested in it. Take it to somebody else. I'm doing just fine over here, following my own fucking desires, doing what I want, doing what I'm interested in, talking about what I want to talk about, doing just fine. Growth has been consistent. I went from like right over 100 subs when I started streaming around this time last year to 7,000 subs at this point. Think I got it figured out. Post is fucking just subverting it. He's like, yeah. Talk to Phoebes. Oh shit. Humble Threeness just said something that they meant to say on an alt. Oh shit. So let's see. Let's see what Humble Threeness. Let's see what their fucking. Let's see what their alt is. Well, okay. Either you just said something on your main that you meant to say on an alt, or you're talking about yourself in the fucking third person. Lavi, I think the point is this space might just not be for you. If you're not interested in listening to people talk about controversial political opinions, this space ain't for you. This space is for people who like to argue about politics. That's what this space is for. This space is for people who disagree passionately about controversial things, to have a place where we can have honest conversations with as coarse language as we want to use, representing our real opinions as close to actually as we can, you know? Oh my god, I'm so fucking confused. Whatever, dude. Can you guys move on to something interesting? I don't care about this weird fucking chat argument. I don't give a shit about it. I don't care. It's not interesting. Lavi, like, how dare you have such scandalous opinions? Well, honestly, Lavi seems scandalized at the very idea of talking about opinions in general, which is what I don't get. It's like, why do I talk about controversial opinions, and like, why am I so out there about them? Well, I guess it's like, number one, because I like doing it. Number two, because I make money doing it. Number three, because it's a great way to grow your channel. And they also made the claim that they've seen a lot of YouTubers fail because they made some hot political take. I'm like, I think maybe you've seen some YouTubers that aren't in the political space fail because of that, but like, I'm in the political space. I'm a political YouTuber. That's what I do. I do political and social commentary. That's literally what this channel is. It's me, you know, discussing politics with a kind of funny bent to it, and discussing current events and news and shit like that, making jokes about it, discussing my opinions on it, arguing with people about it. I'm in the political space, and people that are in the political space on YouTube literally predicate their entire lives and their entire careers on coming up with controversial opinions that later turn out to be true, or more reasonable than they were given credit for, or later prove to be complete bunko or whatever. But we're supposed to be out there with our takes. We're supposed to have hot takes. We're supposed to fucking say wild off the wall shit that's either proven or disproven later on down the road. That's part of the fucking game. That's what I do here. It's what anybody who does this particular type of YouTube, that's what any of us do. That's what makes democracy thrive in general. Yes, 100%. She's like, read articles, watch documentaries, which is the main reason people have political opinions anyways. I have a skip to live button sometimes, but it's when I'm apparently ahead in live. How am I ahead of the damn live? No, you're behind. So what happens is you're behind, right? So if you accidentally swipe your screen the right way or something like that, or if you pause the stream and then unpause it, you will be behind on the live stream, because when you unpause it, it doesn't send you all the way forward like you might think it would. It actually preserves the continuity of your listening experience by pausing the stream for you at the point that you listened to, and then picking it back up at the point you were listening to it. So you have to hit that skip to live button to actually get back to what's going on, you know, in the here and now. Oh, then yeah. Well, no, I don't know. You might be. I really don't know if like it might be some weird glitch, but I do know about people like getting behind on the stream and then having to skip back to live. Anyway, but yeah, no, I already read articles. Like that's literally I read a bunch of fucking articles before I stream every day. It's one of my preparation steps that I take. You know. Good evening, Phoebe. I hope you had a wonderful day, beautiful. I did. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, no, but yeah, I always read at least 3 to 4 articles before I even start these streams, just to kind of catch myself up on what's going on. I would say I watch 1 to 2 documentaries a week. Sometimes I'm just rewatching one I've already watched, but still, I'm constantly exploring new information. A lot of the channels that I watch on YouTube are informational channels, like Practical Engineering, like an informational channel. Like, I lived in Israel for 11 years and I hated the government. Is it not a scandalous opinion? I mean, I think it's a scandalous opinion to some people, and to other people, it's the reasonable opinion to have. That's the thing about opinions, and I think that's why we reacted to your statement the way we did, Lavi, is because when it comes right down to it, all opinions are scandalous. You can't have an opinion. Like, the very nature of opinions means they're going to be disagreed with. If you think if you think a candy is better blue, there is somebody out there that thinks it's better red. As far as whether or not Charlie Kirk wanted kids to see public executions, I have heard this quote floated around a bunch of times. True, then whatever, but like I'll take it back. But I'm still waiting on a fact check from that. I asked if, and they might have done it, but if I've got a mod around, can you guys go look up the Charlie Kirk public executions thing? YouTube is buggy as fuck. Just restart the stream, back out, wait 15 seconds, come back. Yeah. Yeah, if you're having problems with the stream, honestly, just like leave the stream, exit out YouTube, close all your other apps, wait like 15 seconds, reopen YouTube, rejoin the stream. It'll usually work. You sent it earlier? Okay, cool. Let me see here, Woody's Balls. Death penalty should be public, should be quick, it should be televised. I think at a certain age, it's an initiation. Yeah. So how is that not wanting kids to watch public executions? Death penalty should be public, should be quick, it should be televised. I think at a certain age, it's an inflation. Or it's an initiation, sorry. Direct quote from Charlie Kirk. So how is that not wanting kids to see public executions? At a certain age, it's an initiation. What age is that? 13? 15? 17? 19? 21? You gonna play some more strings tonight? I might. I tell you what, super chats are at 2365. It is still pretty. Oh no! Oh no! My fucking phone's about to die. Oh no! 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 Fucking charger on it. Thank God. Okay, so it's still pretty early on in the night, though. It's just now approaching 12 a.m. So I tell you what, if you guys can get us up to $30 in super chats, I will play the guitar. We are at 2365 right now, so that would be an additional $6.35, 6.35. And I will also accept that through Cash App. If you want to donate through the Cash App in my description, I will take that as well. Anyway, I will be right back. I'm going to give you guys a minute to try and reach that goal, and I'm going to use the little girl's room. Probably more detail than you needed, but hey. Oh, I'll be back in a minute. Back in a minute. Plug my gimbal up too so it can be charging. Oh no. Okay. Okay. I am indeed, but whatever. People can be hating on me if they want to, I guess, because fuck it. Ain't nothing but watch hours on my channel and views in the view bank. What woman pees standing up? Have you never heard of the shiwi? Like literally, you've never heard of the shiwi? I don't know. Wouldn't that cause a lot of dysphoria? It definitely does for me. Why are you guys all theorizing about the way I pee anyway? Weirdos? Because they want to picture it like weirdos? I know. I know, Desi. That's the fucked up thing, dude. Ever pee upside down? No. Did you freeze? Did you guys freeze? Did you guys freeze? Dude, I remember that, Kale. Yeah, I remember that. That's like a channel meme now. Shit, piss, cum, fucking nightmare fuel. Yeah. Every so often, Riley or somebody will come in just out of nowhere and be like, let's talk about shit, piss, cum, farts, and other such horrible, nasty, disgusting things. And I'm like, how about we don't? How about we not? Ugh. Ugh. I just realized something kind of horrifying. I have like half the amount of subs that the Onion Nuggets channel has. Now, granted, they've got like 51,000 subs on the main channel, but still. That's fucking wild. That kind of puts it in perspective. Maybe I'm not doing so bad after all, you know? Public bathrooms and the boogers on the walls, dude. Yeah. This is one of the many reasons why I just avoid public bathrooms as best I can. I will use them. I will use them. But I'm picky when I can be, man. I really do. Dude, I'm the fucking type of person, dude. You want to know what fucking places have the best restrooms in America? Ask me. Okay, can we do an ask me anything? I want to talk about living on the road. Okay, this happens pretty much every stream, especially when it gets late. I want to talk about living on the road, so I'm gonna turn. No, I'm not actually gonna turn my lights off yet, but I will. Actually, I am gonna turn my lights on because fuck it, the cool people are here. The algorithm has clearly abandoned me for the night, so I will just set this fucking candle right here, and we are gonna talk. So, I lived in a minivan and traveled the entire United States for most of my life between 2021 and 2023. Ask me anything. I can tell you the best restrooms in the country. I can tell you what restaurants have the best food as far as chain restaurants go. I can recommend some weird little small towns that you might want to check out if you haven't gotten the chance to check out some weird little small towns you want to. I've got all kinds of weird stuff all kinds of weird info. But what if it is interesting to you? Well, only you can determine that. I wanted to do van life so bad. It's a dream of mine to travel. It was a dream of mine to travel too. And that's why I did it. And I don't regret it a bit. There are definitely aspects of the life that if you're not prepared for it, and if you don't have enough money to properly prepare for it, there are definitely aspects of it that are hard as fuck. I've slept through some real cold nights without any heat because my van wasn't properly working. Coldest night I ever slept in was like 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was in the van, but literally every fucking piece of bedding I had enough between me and the floor of the vehicle to keep me protected from that direction, and everything else was just piled on top of me. And I had a few of those little heating things, those little iron oxide thingies, the heating, the like, right? and I move those around over my body and everything to help like really warm myself up before I finally went to bed and warmed the blankets up and everything. And I still woke up shivering. I still woke up shivering the next day. And the fucked up thing is too, if you're talking about like a regular vehicles are meant to be, you know, easy enough to keep hot or cool, but like there's a trade-off in like a regular vehicle that comes from the assumption that it's going to have to operate pretty regularly in the summer and the winter, and like you don't want to insulate a vehicle too well, just a regular passenger car or whatever, because if it's insulated too well, then it's going to be a fucking nightmare in the summer because it's going to be really hard for any of the heat to escape, and it's not going to cool itself off naturally as well going down the road. But you don't want to insulate it too little because obviously then during winter it's incredibly hard to keep the vehicle properly heated and to evenly distribute the heat. And in a minivan, you've got like so much more surface area for cold to be like trapped by and everything. So it's not like it makes it colder inside the vehicle. Obviously, it is warmer inside the car than it is outside, exposed to the wind and everything. But being up next to any of those surfaces will make you feel colder than you would if you were able to put some kind of sealed layer of air between you and it, for example. Did you go alone? For part of my time, yes. For big chunks of the time I was living on the road, I was alone. But when I first started out, I did have a road dog. And I was their greenhorn. They were teaching me the ways, how to survive as a dirty kid. I've talked about them on stream before. Their name was Adam. I don't want to go into more detail than that because I don't want to dox them or whatever. But, yeah, I had a road dog for part of it. Do you think it would be easier to travel with a somewhat solid YouTube income versus doing busking? Yes, it definitely would be. Because what a semi-solid YouTube income allows that busking does not, at least not busking by itself, is trackable, reliable income. Income you can bank with, right? Because if you're busking, then it's kind of difficult for you to turn your money into digital money. And if you can't turn your money into digital money, then you effectively have less money every day because the dollar loses value every day. And most people aren't thinking about their finances like this, and I really understand why, because it has limited fucking value the poorer you are. But it makes more sense to keep your money in a digital form, right? And if you do get direct deposit from like a modest YouTube income or something like that, you'll be eligible for like a lot of online banking apps and everything will make you eligible for all kinds of benefits because of that. And you also have money that you can then transfer into stocks if you've got a month where you've been like, because honestly, what I would want to do, like if I was in that position, right? If I was in the position of like, I had a big windfall and I decided I wanted to travel for a while before my son gets into school and everything, right? What I would want to do is not just rely on my YouTube income. I would want to, in fact, bolster my YouTube income by busking and things like that and filming those, on top of the streams I normally do. I would also start like a music channel and start busking over there and monetize that and everything, get basically double monetize the busking. I would want to maximize my income streams. And the reason for that is because like traveling it can be done very cheaply, but there is tremendous sacrifice that comes with every level of cheapness. The more cheaply you live, the less money you live on, the worse your life is. And I mean that's true, in every aspect of capitalism. That's true no matter where you're at, but I feel like it's especially true when you're on the road because it's not actually that hard to get up to the level where you're doing really well. So like, let's say I had like a 25 grand windfall, decided to buy me an RV and everything I needed to make it fucking perfectly outfitted and everything else, got solar panel and power on it and everything, right? Let's say I went through all of that and then I decided to start living on the road again. I would want, at that point, as long as I was able to buy it outright and everything, anyway, if you have enough money to go from the next step up from minivan to RV, right? That's one level that is not that expensive. It requires one big windfall basically, and then the maintenance costs on it are not that much more expensive than the maintenance costs were on your vehicle, but you're getting so much more benefit for it. And so it would not take that much money, but you would have to get it from, like, if you were going to do it with YouTube or something like that, I would want to have, like I said, my normal channel, this fucking stuff, my socio-political commentary. I would want to have that be part of it. You know, that's my main fucking thread right now. But I would also want to start broadcasting my busking sessions. I would want to continue those and combine all those different incomes together, because at that point I would not only be able to afford whatever upgrades I needed on the RV from time to time and repairs and stuff like that, and maintenance, but I would also be able to hopefully put a little money back, you know, throw a little into savings or stocks or whatever. If you ever need to sleep without shelter in winter, remember it is safer to sleep during the day. Yeah, that is 100% true. That's one of the reasons, by the way, why you will see homeless people more often at night. Or that's why you'll see homeless people at night more often in winter, because um, if you don't have any kind of shelter to sleep in at all, then your best bet is to sleep at some point during the daytime, where at least you can hide behind something or whatever. Like, you know, you can't get a shelter from the weather, but you can get that kind of level of thing. That's not usually that hard to achieve, right? But, you know, actual meaningful shelter from the weather, like in winter, like you really need to have protection from the wind from all sides. Like, honestly, you need 4 walls and a ceiling for maximal protection for a human being in the winter. You need 4 walls and a ceiling, minimal openings. I use one of the Mr. Buddy heaters when sleeping in the woods during wintertime. Those are good, although those are you definitely want to be careful about them, right? You definitely want to be careful about them. And one of the benefits to having an RV, which is one of the reasons why I've made that like one of the things, like I would have to have an RV if I was ever to start traveling again. One of the reasons for that is because RVs are actually designed to be habitable, no matter what the weather conditions. You know, they're not the best insulated things in the world, but they are way better insulated than a comparable car or something like that would be. And they also have, you know, onboard heaters and onboard air conditioners and things like that you can run. So yeah. But yeah, it would definitely be easier to travel with with just a YouTube income alone, even versus busking. I mean, like, at least with a modest YouTube income every month and everything, like, I'll tell you this much. I've got so many drives to answer this question. I want to answer it in so many different ways. I'm so sorry. Anyway, like, when it comes to me personally, right? I found myself in a number of situations during my time on the road where I just functionally couldn't move anywhere. couldn't really go anywhere, couldn't get going. And if I had like a big monthly disbursement like that, I could have just looked forward to, well, the 21st will eventually roll around and I can fucking get paid then and move to some other part of the country for a little while, you know? So there's that. There's also the fact that, like, with the type of content I do on YouTube, if I were to, like, if I were to be living in a vehicle again, be that an RV or whatever, or if I had had this back then, right, I can stream anytime, right, because I've always got the vehicle. So even if it's raining and stuff like that, I can do a stream. You know, I can make a video about something, etc., etc. If I had the money, I'd get an RV or a little camper. Well, I hope you do have the money someday, because honestly, it's super fucking fun taking an RV trip anywhere, which you might already know. Dude, when I was a kid, my grandpa, one of my grandpas anyway, because obviously, you know, most people have two. Um, some people have three or four, but most people have two. Anyway, um, so my grandfather always used to have an RV, and I guess him, fuck, him and my grandmother always used to have either an RV or a tow behind trailer. They actually had two different RVs at one point. Well, not at the same time. They had this one that was a cab over engine design, or an engine in the back. I'm not really sure. And it might have even been a mid-engine design. I have no idea where the engine was on that thing. I know it was like cab over style. Anyway, they had that one for a long time, and that one was a big old Class A, huge fucking thing, just the side of a tour bus. Kind of older, but you know, it was still very serviceable. That thing was fun as fuck. And then they had another one that was a little bit newer from the 90s, I think. Um, it was built on like a super extended F350 chassis or whatever, E350, I think it is. Did I say chassis? Chassis. Anyway, um, but then they had, at the same time they had that, they actually had two other fucking trailers at one point. They had that RV, and they had a fifth wheel and a regular pull behind. The fifth wheel was huge, dude. Their fucking pull behind, their fifth wheel pull behind was fucking insane. Insane how much space there was in that fucker. Just huge. It actually felt roomier than the fucking RV did. The RV was really nice, don't get me wrong, but it actually felt roomier than the RV did. But yeah, I've always wanted one. I will tell you what, I've dreamed about it for years and years and years, and I will fucking confess this to you guys. If I get to the point where my YouTube channel is making me enough money to where I can afford the payments, it's gonna be one of those things that you see me get. Definitely. I'm not gonna get the newest, nicest thing. I don't even want that shit. I want something that has proven its stripes with a couple of good trips to the Grand Canyon or something like that. I want something with a consistent service record that's like a 4 or 5 years old. The the problems with it are known, etc., etc. Can you grow your own in Mississippi? Hell no. Do you have any stories of getting spooked near state or national parks? Ooh. Any ghost stories, Desi? Is that what you're going for? Let's see. Let me think here. Yes. I do. It took me a minute to think of the best one, but yeah. So, this was in 2021. It was in the first couple of months of me traveling. We were in New Mexico, staying on a little patch of Bureau of Land Management land northwest of Bernalillo, which itself is about 30 minutes north of Albuquerque, I think. So, out in the middle of the desert, getting near to the hills, but not quite up into them yet. And we were in the minivan, like I said, and I I had a massive fucking weed habit back then. I mean, hey, big surprise, right? But I had an even bigger weed habit back then. I remember bragging to Paul once at that point. I was up to 4 ounces a month at one point, literally. So that's an ounce a week. That's an insane amount of weed. That I think I calculated that that's like an eighth a day, basically. So I had a blunt. I was smoking it. I had just taken a few puffs off of it, and I felt the need to get out. I don't know why. I mean, my road dogs were arguing and shit, and I'm sure that contributed to it. Was just wanting to get away from their shit, but it was also like wanted to get some fresh air and shit. So I stepped out, and as I was closing the door, I hear the whine of an engine and see something fly overhead real quick. And I'm like, whoa. And as I'm finishing saying that, literally as I'm getting to the H in the whoa, I hear, well, I don't hear shit. I see, in fact, it was almost eerie that I didn't hear anything for a second. I see the stars just blot out for a second, make out the brief outline of something, but there's no flashing lights or anything like there was with the first one. The first one was clearly a fighter jet. But whatever the second one was, it did not have any marker lights on, and I did not, and it was going so fucking fast that I didn't even hear it for a second. So I don't know if maybe it was speeding up or something, and the the fighter jet was in front of it. I don't know what the fucking deal was with that, but that's um, how that wild shit happened. Um, See, in the memory, I remember feeling like the wind coming off of it, but I can't, I couldn't honestly tell you if it really did or if that was just the blunt. And I think we might have been on acid that night too. Honestly, I was fucking I was getting so fried on acid so often in 2020 and 2021 that there are whole times where I know objectively that I tripped, but where I don't remember tripping, if that makes sense. Or I don't, it's like hard to place which memory happened during a trip and which didn't because some of them run together. It's like I know I tripped like on a certain point on that road. We set up camp a little farther down that road because we didn't know that that side of it was like a gun range. Now we weren't parked in the area that they shoot towards, but still, nobody even happened along and said anything to us either. It's not like eventually a cop came or something was like, "Hey, you guys got to move out of here." It's just, you know, hillbillies drove on by and never paid us any second mind. And I know we tripped that time because I remember some of the shenanigans that me and my road dogs got up to. I saw aliens. Yep, it could have been the U.S. fucking military escorting some aliens around, dude. I saw a light in the sky flying back and forth in a straight line in like multiple directions outside my window when I was a kid. I tell you what, another weird thing that happened to me, and this was before I started traveling. I was going down, to be honest with you guys, I was going down to see a girl. Um, Very gay, I know, but I was in Blytheville, Arkansas, or getting near to it, but I was still far enough away to where everything was very, very much dark and everything. And then I started to notice through the windshield. Well, at first, I didn't even recognize that it was something outside of my own car. At first, I thought it was some reflection of something I had in the car. But I started looking around and quickly realized, no, there's nothing making that that light. But I was seeing a bunch of red lights that seemed to be going across the windshield and kind of going from right to left and everything. I was like, what the fuck? So I eventually, anything in the car causing that, I turn down the music and I pull over and I get out, and I'm not fucking kidding. The entire sky was alight with just red dots, and they were slowly gliding across the sky, and would have been going from west to east, I believe, based on the direction I was headed. Never seen anything like it before or since. But like I said, like the sky was alight with them, and they were in grids too. Like they were arranged in like a very orderly fashion. I once saw a super big, bright green meteor streaking across the sky. Then an hour later, there was a huge blue flash on the horizon that lit up half the sky electric blue. Then it happened again. It was so bright that I thought it was an EMP. What? Dude, Winston, is there a chance that you witnessed a meteor explosion or something like that? Like a meteor touched down and it just didn't happen to fucking catch any houses on fire or destroy anything human, so they were just like, whatever. Probably not, but it's interesting to think about, isn't it? When I was about 15, I was smoking a joint, sitting on the tracks at night, smoking a. Man, are you smoking a joint right now, femboy stormtrooper? We get it. You were smoking a joint. When I was 15, I was smoking a joint. At the time when I was smoking a joint, while I was watching the railroad, when I happened to be smoking a joint, at the same time that I was smoking a joint, right at the moment where I happened to be smoking at a joint. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just ribbing you. I noticed a white light circling the perimeter of my town. It did about 5 loops before shooting into space. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. There's just something about this little green herb. No, I'm kidding. There really is weird shit that happens that I don't think anybody's come up with a fucking good explanation for. And I will see shit to this day that I fucking can't explain and that nobody else seems to have an explanation for. Like, for example, right around, like, right where I live, there are 2 different spots in the sky where I can look and I can see what looks to my stoner ass to be a star or something that looks a lot like a star, but it seems to be moving almost like a drone would or something like that, but not quite, because drones tend to be more stable than that. But it's just moving in like an erratic way, and sometimes it'll move over to the side real quick, but it'll kind of like do that. And I have not seen any fucking explanation for what that might possibly be. The blue flash was no meteor. It lit up exactly half the sky electric blue, the other half black with very short transition from black to blue directly overhead. Shit. What do you think it was, Winston? Like fucking like a nuclear test, maybe? Some kind of test, some weird weapon, possibly? Because, I mean, the sky is vast, but depending on your perspective, how much of it you can actually see varies widely. Like, if you're in the middle of a forest, you might not be able to really see the sky much at all. You might just have a vague perception of it. You know, you might be able to see a couple of miles worth of sky, if you're taking it from, some atmospheric measurement, might only be like 25 feet worth of perspective from your perspective or something. But point is, half the sky is a bunch of fucking, like, that is a crazy amount of light. So it's almost got to be something like a nuke test or some crazy weapons test or something. There were two within 2 minutes. Weirdest, most unexplainable thing I've ever seen. Yeah, that is pretty fucking unexplainable. I've seen too many weird things to not believe in aliens. Not to be Debbie, but weird stuff does just happen in space. But I have no idea what the light I saw could have been. Yeah. And that's my thing. I'm not trying to say that any of the shit I've seen has been aliens. But what I will say is that I kind of lean into what Desi was saying, I think Desi's kind of got a point when she says, like, I've seen too much shit to not believe in aliens. I've seen too much shit to not believe that the world is a lot more complex and complicated than than it's made out to be, and than we're made to believe, right? I think that could include aliens. That could include all kinds of weird physics things we just don't understand. Who the fuck knows? But if you think about the fucking wide preponderance of planets and the massive amount of stars and just our galaxy alone, then you think about the number of stars and other galaxies and our nebula and our cluster and everything, it starts to become pretty absurd to think that we're the only intelligent life out there. And if one of them has a million-year head start on us and they didn't kill themselves already, they could be interplanetary by now. Destiny Rose. Hey, Phoebe, looks like my prediction is coming to fruition. I told you that Trump won't make it to the end of 2025. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Destiny, why does your name sound so fucking familiar? Literally, your name sounds so familiar. What conspiracy theories do you believe in? Well, I believe that George Bush was a useful idiot when it came to the matter of 9/11. I think that the Saudis basically aided and abetted and allowed a terrorist element to be fomented from within their country, basically because a very rich family stood to benefit quite a bit from a planned terrorist action of his. And I think that George Bush was a useful idiot in that affair because he was basically the perfect president they could possibly have for the events that were about to transpire. Because they knew George Bush and his simplistic ass. Number one, they knew that he was fucking bought off by the Saudis, so it was not going to blame Saudi Arabia. Number two, they knew that his simplistic ass was just going to go after wherever Osama bin Laden got tied to first. And he got tied to Afghanistan first, so he got fucking sent to Afghanistan. The Afghanistan war starts, and then Iraq, because obviously Bush has a score to settle with Saddam Hussein. And I think that he was complicit in those attacks, in that he was incredibly inattentive as a president until the moment 9/11 happened. He was an incredibly useless president, basically throughout his entire fucking presidency, but especially in the first 8 months of it, before 9/11. It was on 9/11 that Bush started becoming the attentive but horrible authoritarian that we remember him as today. And I think that's another reason why he was a useful idiot for them, because the Saudis had a shit ton of money, not just the Saudis in general, but specifically the bin Laden family had a lot of interests in the American war machine. Saudi money, especially bin Laden money, is all throughout the American military industrial complex. And so they stood to benefit massively from the response to 9/11. And they benefited massively from it being a president like Bush, who was so willing to go so hardcore in the war direction, who looked at himself as a war president. So that's probably the craziest conspiracy theory I believe in, because it's just like, objectively true. I mean, I guess it's not objectively true, right? It like the thing that makes that theory of mine a conspiracy is, did George Bush, like, to what level is he complicit, right? Was he passively complicit because he was just a moron, or was he actively complicit, or was it some degree of both? Was he like complicit in the sense that he knew that it was the Saudis who fucked him, but he couldn't pursue the Saudis because the Saudis were in too good with not just him and his family, but America as a whole? Was there, and that's what I think is the truth. I think it was a combination of him being a moron and him being bought and paid for by Saudi Arabia and Israel and a bunch of other fucking moneyed interests and shit. My conspiracy is that quantum physicists are just making everything up to make money. That's why they say they can't explain what it is, and why they say it's so difficult to understand that even they don't get it. They're making it all up. You know what? Maybe. I will say this much. Quantum physics is one of those things that it's not like we don't know anything about it, but there's literally a book called Quantum Physics for Dummies, and it's one of the thickest for dummies works, because quantum physics is incredibly difficult to understand and make sense of, no matter how you look at it. And that would be a ripe atmosphere for some people to just make some shit up, wouldn't it be? George Bush is prone to gaffes, but for sure not an idiot. I mean, I don't know, man. Agree to disagree, I guess. I think that it went beyond being quip prone and gaff prone in his particular case. We need doctors in this country. We need more doctors. There's a doctor shortage. Millions of gynecologists are unable to practice their love with women all over the country. I like to think of America, though, as a place where you can achieve anything, a place where wings take dream. Well, really, I'm just hoping that from this whole conflict, we can establish some kind of framework to build, I'm sorry, not the framework, but to build a groundwork so that we can arrive at some kind of frame. All right. And finally, there's a saying down in Texas. I'm sure it's in Tennessee too, probably, but it's in Texas, and they say, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me three times, can't get fooled again." That's my personal favorite. One of those quips, by the way, he's got the best landing out of ever. I can't remember which one it is, but one of those quips, he fucking like recognizes that he just said some gibberish, and he says, "Did I just say those words?" Yes, Mr. President, you just said those words. You sure did. Go back to the ranch, you fuck. I know, dude. He was like the second fucking funniest president next to Obama. Obama was like purposeful funny. George Bush was like accidentally hilarious. You know, there's a quote I think about a whole lot. I don't know why it's on my mind right now, but I'll give it to you guys. I just want to see if any of you guys can guess who said it. My hope is that through all this turmoil, that we will arrive at a new order founded on a global interdependency that will focus on peace and fairness for all, or something like that. I forget the exact quote. There will emerge a new global interdependence predicated on the notion of peace and democracy. Winston Churchill. It does kind of sound like a Churchill quote, doesn't it? Captain Picard. Very much sounds like Captain Picard, doesn't it? I'll give you a hint. He's one of the most hated men in American political discussion. That doesn't narrow it down. Okay. He was one of the architects of the Vietnam War. I'll give you a couple more hints. It wasn't said by a president, and it wasn't said by Robert McNamara. Okay? So that really only leaves like one other architect of the Vietnam War. Margaret Thatcher. Now you're getting closer. You're getting closer. Pierce Morgan. Fuck no. Fuck no. Fuck no. Oh shit. No. No, actually, I don't. Never mind. I don't want to say that. Nope. Y'all cancel me quick as I fucking turn my head around. There we go. There we go. Somebody finally got it. Ding, 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 ding. It is my hope that throughout all this turmoil, we can eventually arrive at a new peace, and there will emerge a new order founded on a global interdependence that will assure peace and tranquility for all. Something like that. It's a quote that was said by Henry Kissinger during the aftermath, like during the kind of like the aftermath, the goings on of the Vietnam War, and looking at some of the issues that were happening in the Middle East. And it's kind of funny, right? Because if you compare that now to the foreign policy dreams and desires of American leaders in the current administration, I don't think it has anything to do with even wanting that. See, that's the wild thing. It's like everybody talks shit about fucking Henry Kissinger, and I get why. Because he was, like fucking horrible dude, right? But compare what being a horrible dude meant in the mid 70s to what being a horrible person means now. And just, it's amazing how far we've backslid, right? Because being a horrible person in the mid 70s meant being a globalist who wanted every country to work with every other country and wasn't afraid to broker any peace deal that he could to make that happen. You know, he was also willing to wage war to make that happen, but, you know, compare that now to Trump, who just doesn't even seem interested all that much in negotiating with other countries, period. Yep, it was Henry Kissinger. Don't want to close my eyes. Don't want to fall asleep 'cause I'd miss you, baby. And I don't want to miss a thing. 'Cause even if I dream of you, the sweetest dream would never do. I'd still miss you, baby. And I don't want to miss a thing. I hope. I hope, and I think that's my biggest problem. I decry hope from a logical standpoint, but I think I engage in way too much of it. You know, Frank Herbert writes in Dune that fear is the mind killer. I would argue fear and hope are both mind killers. They just kill from different directions. Fear kills you by feeling like, by making you feel as though you are going to face bodily harm or die and that it will be in vain and everything. Whereas hope, and it prevents you from doing action in that way, right? But hope prevents you from, hope keeps you from action through almost the opposite effect. Well, it'll all get better eventually. Something will change. I hope. I hope something changes. Hopefully something changes. Hopefully something gets different. Hopefully something gets better. I think a lot of us are stuck hoping because we really don't know how to be meaningfully active for the things that we want or to pursue the things that we want. Many of us are just prevented from pursuing the things we really want. But I definitely do want to try and figure out a way to pursue the things that I can. I'll tell you this much, y'all. I really do. I think I figured out what I want to do in terms of like, I finally know what I want my life to be, and I don't feel like it's unattainable, but it's going to be a long road to that process, and I don't know that it's exactly going to look neat and regular and even. But here's what I want. I want to live in a recreational state where I'm allowed to grow my own weed. I want to have at least 10 to 15 acres of my own. I want to have a decent house, not anything crazy. I would take a double wide, like a decent double wide that I could put a big porch on and a nice back deck with a pool. That would be perfect. A decent hybrid SUV or crossover of some kind. Probably a crossover. I really don't like how big SUVs are, but a crossover, because I like being able to step into a car. I like being able to just kind of like transfer my weight laterally into a car rather than like crawling up in and out of it. Because even when I was way thinner, that was fucking hard, and I hate it. I want the things I've mentioned, right? But I also the big two like life goal things that I think besides the house and land is I really want to have a food truck someday. Or a restaurant, but I feel like food truck is a better first goal. And I really want an RV because I really do want to be able to someday be successful enough to where if I want to, I can just hire somebody to take care of my land and house for 2 weeks and make content from the road for a couple weeks and live in an RV, see some crazy shit, or even just see some normal shit. That was one of the most wonderful things about living on the road is the fact that I had the opportunity to see so many small American towns, which that was really the stuff I was. You guys didn't really ask me about some of the juiciest stuff about living on the road, but some of the juiciest things to know about living on the road is like just the weird little small towns you encounter, like Ruidoso, New Mexico, tiny little tourist town that if you'd never been turned on to it, you probably would never hear about it. But it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And the weather's amazing there pretty much all the time. We're alive. We have to hope. We have a sense of self-preservation that demands that we remain open to possibility. It's called survival, never goes out of style. Well, I think there's a difference between being open to the possibility and, like I don't know. I've got a complicated relationship with hope because on the one hand, I recognize part of its like instinctual utility. I think part of the okay, here's how I want to put it, right? So I think there's a distinction between hope as an instinct and hope as an active emotion or as a choice, right? Because I think that if you're in a hopeless situation or if you're in a situation that you have puzzled your way through and you really cannot figure out how it's going to change, and so you're just holding on until something changes, I think hope has a utility there. And I think it's an instinct that is meant to keep people surviving and to keep people from getting despondent and everything by kind of, but it has interplay with hope as an emotion, as a choice, because if you allow yourself to be lulled into a false sense of hope, then you might not act, even though acting would be in your best interest. You know? It's like if you're someone who's facing like a genocide or something like that, hoping the situation gets better might seem like the only thing you can do. But if you have the option to join together and to convince everybody else that you know and that you care about and everything to join together with anybody that they can and link arms and really fight to preserve your own lives and to escape or whatever you have to do, you're going to probably survive more than those who just, hope that whatever's happening next is for the best. But I think that it does have its place. I just think that it's an emotion that should be, I think, examined critically when felt. Whenever you find yourself hoping, I think it's worthy to examine that and be like, you know? Yeah, because I think that there's a difference between the just basic emotional drive to hope and be like, yeah, things are gonna be even better someday in the future, and like, or like, being in an all right place, but hoping like, man, I hope I win this fucking Powerball ticket because that would be fucking crazy cool. Versus, I hope my life improves despite the fact that I do nothing to improve my life. see a distinction between hope as an emotion versus instinct. Emotions are instinctual. I don't agree. I don't think emotions are entirely instinctual. If they were entirely instinctual, then how would they express themselves so differently depending on what kind of childhood the person has, you know? I don't know, it just doesn't make much sense to me. I think all emotions are based on instincts. I'll grant you that. I do think that emotions are an outgrowth of instinctual behavior. Don't get me wrong, but I also think outgrowths are outgrowths. I think emotions are not just an outgrowth of that. I think they are an outgrowth of the interplay between emotions and social relationships, or I'm sorry, between instincts and social relationships. The more social your society is, and the more complex that society is, the more methods of expression that it has, and the more powerful individual members of it are, um, the more utility there is in these like behavioral indicators, basically. From what I can see, you have been networking with people in your industry and they seem to really respect you. I think modern day debate could really open some new doors. Yeah, I mean, well, I will tell you what, Melanie, do you know who Vosh is off the top of your head? I do not. Okay, well, I can't use this comparison then. Well, because I'm basically the Vosh of the DFF community, but that's maybe being a little self-aggrandizing. No, but basically, here's how it happened, right? So I initially started out and just did YouTube as a very much just like a hobbyist kind of thing, making a video whenever I felt like I had something poignant to say, or um, whenever I had like a song I wanted to upload or something like that. And I started streaming because I had watched Paul Zigo do basically this exact kind of stream for like 7 or 8 years. And they looked real fun. Looked like a really good way to express like a line of consciousness thing and have interesting conversations you might not get to have otherwise, depending on who you're around in your everyday life. And so I eventually like dipped my toe into it once I had enough subs to start vertical streaming, and YouTube lowered the number of subs you had to have to do it too. That helped. Um, but because I started out as an audience member of Paul's Ego, Deep Fat Fried, Drunken Peasants, etc., um, I was like already like a known quantity to them. And then I started participating in TJ's Discord, fucking year or two back, and me and TJ became friends eventually. And it was actually TJ that recommended me. So like TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist, you might have heard of him. He's fucking a legend. I still consider him a legend. Some people think he's cringe, but I think that they are great. I think they're cool. Um, and they were actually apparently the one who recommended me to Modern Day Debate. And they gave me a pretty fucking glowing recommendation in my mind. As glowing as you're going to get from TJ. Because, one of the things I like about TJ is that he's not exactly effusive with praise, which is kind of cool, right? Because, and it's one of the things I struggle with, like, I'm trying to get better about it and make sure that people know how I really feel and be substantive and shit, but, like, when someone's not very effusive with praise, when they're not exactly, like, the most gushing person ever, it means a lot when they say even something as simple as, she's a pretty skilled debater. Because I studied psychology, I know to not push this because you are protecting a deeply held belief right now, instinctually. uh, I feel like this is a perspective that's highly informed by evolutionary psychology. See, you saying, like you studied psychology. I get that, right? The problem with psychology, and I'm sure if you studied psychology, you already know this, there's a reason why people call psychology a soft science. It's because, number one, just the ethics of actually engaging in psychological research is sometimes tricky. But also, and once again, I know you might know this, but this is for anybody listening that doesn't. Like the ethics of actually like verifying psychological findings can be like kind of difficult, because like what are you gonna do? Like okay, you think you've established this pattern here, so what are you gonna do? Like take 100 children, subject them to the same awful childhood, and see how many of them turn out to be serial killers or whatever? Like there's no good ethical way to test a lot of this stuff. So a lot of it exists on the back of case studies and commonalities and things like that. I'm not saying there's no science to it at all, but I am saying that not every theory touted by a psychologist necessarily holds weight merely because a scientist said it. And one of the ideas that I'm kind of skeptical of is evolutionary psychology. Obviously, it's true to some degree. Right? Instincts alone prove that. Instincts wouldn't be able to develop if our brains weren't able to take some of what our parents and ancestors and et cetera learned and apply that to our lives, right? So, like instincts just wouldn't happen if there wasn't some truth to evolutionary psychology. But how deeply does evolutionary psychology inform like our everyday thoughts, opinions, etc.? I don't like obviously it's fundamental to how that works. Psychology is after all an outgrowth of the evolution of the human brain, but a lot of evolutionary psychologists are very essentialist in regards to the position and basically make out like there's some kind of evolutionarily driven reason for every fucking behavior that happens. And I don't think that's true. I think that like culture can clearly drive behaviors. I think that that instinct and evolution, like instinct and um, evolutionarily influenced aspects of our psychology are the framework, maybe, that holds our psychology together, that our psychology is built on, but it's not the sum of all its parts. I don't call it a soft science. I call it pseudoscience quackery. I don't call it quackery. I mean, clearly there's some aspects of psychology that are pretty fucking reliably true, right? Like, I get that, you know? But there is a lot of fucking, there's a lot of woo-woo to psychology, okay? There just is. And yeah, like, it's a contemporary field, and while it has benefited from historically unethical research, it is still actively studied. I get that, but once again, the ethical dilemma exists whether you're, you know, experimenting or not, right? And I think the reason why the types of experiments that I think might be expected of other forms of science aren't done in psychology, because, like I said, the ethical dilemmas are just too stark. There's some findings you can do by doing research on animals and stuff like that, but human beings have this whole force multiplier when it comes to our psychology, which is culture. Well, hey, I'm not trying to invalidate your studies at all, Post. I just like talking about this shit. I'm not trying to invalidate anything you learned at all. I'm literally just a fucking layperson that likes to talk about this shit. I'm not college educated. I did take a college level psychology class when I was in high school, but that doesn't place me in some fucking special group of people that knows what I'm talking about. I'm just a layperson talking shit. because I think it's an interesting topic with interesting implications. Trump is amazing. Prove me wrong. He's actively kidnapping people, including U.S. citizens, off the street, just on the suspicion of being brown. Next. I predicted that Trump would not make it to the end of the year, and he is now under federal investigation over the January 6th insurrection. He is going down hard. The special prosecutor, Jack Smith, is going after the whole Trump administration and then Trump. Destiny, are you like present? It's 2025, dude. You really think some special prosecutor is going to be able to get Trump on shit? He's the president. He's the president, and he's got majorities in all the state houses. Besides, I thought all that January 6th shit, what prosecutor, like the special prosecutor and all that, I thought that already went down. Well, I will say that much is true. MAGA is slowly turning against Trump. It's actually beautiful to watch. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been speaking out against him, which is kind of funny. Alrighty. Well, I've been streaming for almost 3 hours, and it is really late at night, so I'm going to go ahead and go, y'all. Thank you guys for hanging out, as usual. Thank you to everybody who has donated. I appreciate you guys a lot. You guys are fucking cool. You guys are chill. Cash App in the description if you ever want to donate without fucking the YouTube cut. I don't know why I couldn't fucking spit that out. I'm just trying to remember all the different facets of engagement. Anyway, I'm too tired to remember all that shit. Do what you want. Hit the fucking interaction buttons or don't. I love you guys. Good night.